Good afternoon. I'm Meteorologist Bailey Braun, and I'm here to give you everything that you can expect for the work week and some impacts that are heading our way, not only for South Central, but also for southwestern Alaska, even spanning into the interior and the North Slope. So we'll jump right into it. I'm going to tell you everything that you can expect. Now for right now, I wanted to give you a look at these current road conditions. I know a lot of you might be making your way home after the big game. So this is what roads are looking like currently in Palmer. They're looking just a little bit wet. We do have that snow on the way, actively making some landfall for parts of Anchorage as well as into the Matsu Valley. But in Fairbanks, just a bit colder, but conditions are relatively dry, and they're going to stay dry for Fairbanks. And while that may not be completely true for the rest of the interior, that's what you can expect for Fairbanks. Now for Juneau and for the rest of Southeast, expect more of this wet weather your way for the next week. Now unfortunately, I'm not really going to be talking about Southeast too much because your forecast really hasn't changed a whole lot other than that rain heading your way, but I can tell you that there are strong winds expected from Tuesday through Wednesday. This will be gusts up to 60 miles per hour, and that is for Skagway. So that's really your brief Southeast update, and I'll jump back into that when I do the zonal forecast. But we do have some weather headlines that I wanted to talk about. So this is our photo of the day from Ben T. But snow is making that landfall in South Central, as I mentioned. This is one of a series of storms that will bring wintry impacts. This includes for South Central, parts of the interior, and for the Aleutians and Southwest Alaska. Now, extreme cold is in the slope. If you're in the slope, I'm sure you are plenty aware of this, but wind chill will drop to as cold as negative 70 degrees. So it's going to be very chilly. We do have this cold weather warning for the slope highlighted in blue, and just a little bit south of that, reaching into areas of for Yukon and other parts of the interior, that's a cold weather advisory. This is for wind chill as low as negative 70 degrees as well. Now you'll notice there are quite a few weather alerts going on across the state, and I wanted to point out really quick this high wind warning that is pointing down to the Aleutian chain. This is, you see the center of that low pressure system bringing lots and lots of rain and wet weather. This is really going to impact you for the strong wind, which is going to reach up to 70 and even 85 miles per hour. Now this will expire by Tuesday afternoon. I just wanted to give you that look ahead, so be aware of those strong gusts. You may have felt some of those today, but these impacts will last all the way into Tuesday. Now let's focus our attention just a little bit closer on parts of western Alaska, as well as this winter weather advisory for parts of the interior, even reaching into parts of South Central. Now starting with western Alaska, what's highlighted in blue is that winter storm warning, that winter storm watch. This watch consists of about 3 to 6 inches of snow likely for Monday night through Wednesday night, so that's going to accumulate over a 48-hour period. This will last all the way from eastern Norton Sound all the way down into the Yukon Delta coastline. But I also wanted to point out what's highlighted in pink right there, that winter storm warning. This is going to be for slightly higher accumulations of snow, which are likely to reach from 5 to 10 inches for the interior Kuskokwim Delta. This will be in effect Tuesday through Wednesday, so a little bit of a shorter time frame. However, there is a storm heading your way that is going to bring impacts directly to you, and that will also affect parts of the Alaska Peninsula and even into South Central. Now if you just shift your attention towards this winter weather advisory with what's highlighted in purple, you can already see on the radar parts of that coastline is already getting lots of that rain. Even other parts a little more inland are already getting quite a bit of snow before this winter weather advisory. This area for the upper Tanana Valley, if you are in this area, you're likely to get 2 to 5 inches of snow. This will last from tonight all the way through Monday night. But heavier impacts are likely for McCarthy, as well as central and southern portions of the Copper Valley, and also the Tok Cutoff Highway. So the Tok Cutoff Highway is likely to get quite a bit of snow, and of course higher elevation regions are likely to get more snow than other areas, but 8 to 18 inches is that snow range from the National Weather Service. But this is going to affect you from Glen Allen all the way up the Tok Cutoff as well, so brace for those kind of impacts lasting again from tonight all the way through tomorrow night. Now let's focus a little bit more towards the North Slope. Here, this is mostly for cold weather and cold wind chill. That extreme cold warning, again, is for wind chill as cold as negative 75 degrees. That lasts through Tuesday. And that cold weather advisory is for wind chill as low as negative 70 degrees. So really just be sure to bundle up and be careful and aware of the potential for frostbite, because that can happen within 5 minutes of exposure if you're not bundled up properly. So as we look ahead, you can already see all of that wintry weather lasting for the Copper River Basin. And Ray Gross, thank you for sharing that. Currently snowing in Valdez, you have a lot more snow heading your way, not only for tomorrow, but into Tuesday and Wednesday as well. You can already see more of this snow really centered around the Copper River Basin and also for Seward as well. Now, this is just one of 2 impacts that are really going to come for South Central. That was one that I just showed you into the overnight hours tonight into Monday morning. That's going to bring light snow accumulations for Anchorage into the Matsu Valley with up to 3 inches of snow possible. However, really a trace up to 1 inch is what our computer models are pointing to. So as we look ahead, what you're seeing over the Aleutian chain, that is really going to be the biggest impact for a lot of the state. As you look ahead, you're going to see that's going to make landfall all across the Aleutians, up the Alaska Peninsula, impacting Kodiak, even reaching into the Kuskokwim Delta. And then you'll see all over South Central, the entire region coated in purple, which is going to be that heavier amount of snowfall. Now, right now, computer models are showing up to about 5 to 6 inches for Anchorage. However, of course, those tend to vary quite a bit, so we're going to keep monitoring that, but just be aware of that snow potential that is heading your way Tuesday night into Wednesday. In the Copper River Basin, this is an area especially where heavy amounts of snow are likely. Heaviest amounts of snow are likely for the Thompson Pass area, and that's also going to stretch up into Glen Allen and also impacting the Tok Cutoff Highway. So if you're in Valdez, brace for some heavy amounts of snow for tonight and into tomorrow. You're likely to get even up to 5 or 6 inches of snow, and that's especially true for Thompson Pass. You already know that area is a place where you tend to get a lot more snow since there's higher elevations. But if you're in the Copper River Basin, especially Cordova, that's where you're going to see a lot of rain mostly. Temperatures are going to be too warm for snow in Cordova, but you will get about 0.8 of an inch of rain for tomorrow. So brace for that. Just lots of wet weather heading your way, just lots of precipitation in general. Now for Southeast, you'll see that that frontal system even brings impacts to you. That's going to bring some strong winds as well as more of that rain, but I know you've already been expecting rain in the forecast, but that's where this next round of rain that will come midweek this week. Now with that snow forecast that I mentioned for tonight into tomorrow morning, again, not really a whole lot expected, just about a couple inches or so at most. But as we get towards Tuesday and into Wednesday, that's when those computer models really start to peak. You see that the blue model, I'm going to call it the blue model because that's what's easiest. The blue model tops out at around 5 inches, but you'll notice that our GFS model highlighted in yellow, that's expecting up to 3 and even almost 4 inches of snow. So you can see the variety and why it's difficult, because our GEM model in pink really starts to plummet as we get into Wednesday. So we're going to keep you updated, of course. Forecasting snow a few days out is a little tricky, but we just want to give you the heads up and be aware that the snow is coming. And that's not just for Anchorage. That snow, as I mentioned, is going to bring a wide impact from the Aleutians all the way into southeast Alaska. So the whole southern half of the state is going to be impacted by this next storm system. So here's that snowfall as we get into tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. Only a little bit of snow reaching into western portions of the Kenai Peninsula from Homer all the way up to Talkeetna. Not really a whole lot of snow expected, but again, the heavier amounts of snow are likely for Copper River Basin, Valdez, all the way to Glen Allen, and then making your way up north into the interior through the Tok Cutoff Highway. That's where the most snow is likely to hit. So here's what that snow is going to look like as Tuesday approaches, and even into Tuesday night to Wednesday. That's when that next storm hits. You see how everything begins to move from the west to the east. That's when that storm moves in, and it's kind of interesting to see it on the model data, but I just wanted to give you a little glance at that snowfall for the interior. Haven't forgotten about you as we approach Monday afternoon. Tok is really the area where you're going to see the most snow for the interior, but this will stretch up into the Delta Junction and impact you. Not really a whole lot, just a little bit, but again, it's important to be aware that even parts of the interior will be impacted from this next snowstorm, which is pretty crazy because Alaska makes up about 1/3 of the United States, so that just shows you how big that next storm system is going to be. Now with our zonal forecast, we've got a lot of rain heading your way to the Panhandle. You already know that, but heaviest amounts are likely for Yakutat as well as into Ketchikan. This is where you could see up to about 4/10 to about half an inch of rain in these specific areas. But again, for Skagway, the really big impact to pay attention to will hit Tuesday night to Wednesday morning. That's for strong wind, likely up to 60-mile-per-hour gusts. So prepare for that. But other than that, your temperatures are looking pretty normal and wet weather is just a part of the season. Now towards the interior, colder temperatures are underway. You can already see that these temperatures are about 15 to 20 degrees below normal. So that cold trend is back, and that's reaching up into the interior, is highlighted in blue. But there's that winter weather advisory from Tok spanning up, barely reaching into Delta Junction. That's where that snow is really going to impact you, but only a couple of inches are likely. But most snow, I want to remind you and get it in your head, Tuesday night into Wednesday. Now for the North Slope, this is where temperatures are really dropping between 20 and even 30 degrees below normal. Pretty chilly up there, but wind chill is really the biggest concern regardless of these temperatures. Wind chill is likely to reach negative 75 degrees, so be careful of that and be sure to bundle up and take the right precautions that you need. For Western Alaska, colder temperatures, 15 to 20 degrees below normal, and you're also noticing sunny skies. And I mentioned this before, but clear skies are associated with colder temperatures because there's nothing to retain any kind of heat that you may have been given from the sun, or if you had warmer temperatures, that would also be an impact, but you don't. You have colder temperatures, so brace for this. Winds are going to be relatively normal, but in Gamble, gusts will reach up to 45 miles per hour, and then you're going to see those winter weather alerts. These are mostly for Tuesday, so for tomorrow, for Monday, Western Alaska is going to be mostly sunny. Impacts will come to you in the overnight hours beginning Tuesday morning. That's when you can brace for more of those winds and that snow to begin to make its way to you. Now the Aleutians are already feeling some of the impacts. You've seen a couple of frontal systems that have already affected the area. They're currently seeing the impacts of one frontal system, but that next big storm that will impact a good chunk of the state, that's going to move in by Tuesday, bringing in more of those impacts. So brace for some snow as these temperatures drop below freezing in Cold Bay and even into St. Paul. But Adak and Unalaska are staying a little bit too warm for that, so rain is really the big headline for you. Gusts, again, could reach up to 80 miles per hour, so strong wind gusts are always a big impact whenever it comes to storms like this. Wind causes a lot of damage to property especially, and it also adds to that wind chill. So just be aware and be prepared and aware of that situation that you've got going on. Now for South Central, for tonight into tomorrow, you're going to stay mostly dry from Soldotna into the western portion of the Kenai Peninsula. Snow and a little bit of that rain is likely into Seward. Of course, as temperatures begin to rise above freezing, that's when you get that transition from freezing rain into rain, so be prepared for that, and gusts up to 25 miles per hour. But for the Copper River Basin, this is where we're seeing a lot of those heavier impacts for South Central. Again, Valdez is one of those areas that's going to get quite a bit of snow, and this is the same for Whittier. Up to about 5 inches or so are likely just from tonight into tomorrow morning. And then you're going to get even more snow after that, especially as the next storm rolls in for Tuesday into Wednesday. Temperatures are kind of riding that line between freezing and not freezing, so just keep an eye on that, but be aware for that transition from snow to rain as temperatures do begin to rise above that freezing mark. But again, Gulkana, Glen Allen, these areas will get heavier amounts of snow. You can see where that winter weather advisory is highlighted. But Cordova, this is where the heaviest amount of rainfall will fall, as temperatures are still sitting quite a bit above freezing, so heaviest rainfall amounts are likely to reach up to 0.8 of an inch for tomorrow. Into the Mat-Su Valley and even into Talkeetna, we are expecting a little bit of snow to move through the area. The National Weather Service and even some of our models were expecting the Mat-Su Valley to get just a little bit more than an inch of what Anchorage would get. And again, we're not really expecting to see too much, so it could be as little as a trace of snow. It could be as high as 2 to 3 inches. Even then, that's not really a whole lot, so that's going to be into the overnight hours tonight, which even some parts are actively getting some snow, and that will move through until Monday morning. And that's going to dry off quite a bit into the afternoon, catching a little bit of a break during Tuesday, during the day, and then more of that snow will move across the entire area from Tuesday night into Wednesday for the heaviest impacts. So For your 7-day for Anchorage, temperatures are going to sit into the 20s for Monday and Tuesday. But then when that snow returns on Wednesday, we'll sit right at that freezing benchmark with a little bit more snow potentially likely for Thursday, catching another break Friday, and then another chance of snow returns into the weekend. So we'll keep an eye on these chances of snow, give you a little bit of a more accurate and detailed forecast when we are able to. But for Fairbanks, you're going to stay relatively dry. Again, this is mostly just for Fairbanks. Other parts of the interior are going to stay relatively dry. It's really just Delta Junction and Tok in the interior that are going to get a little bit of snow, if anything. But temperatures are dropping, but they will begin to get back up on that upswing as the weekend comes to a close. Temperatures tonight are close to -20 for the overnight low, and then they'll reach as low as 30 degrees below zero on Monday night. And of course, Juneau, lots of weather, lots of wet weather your way for this entire week. Temperatures are going to sit just below 40 degrees, but a little bit warmer into those other places that stay a little bit warmer, such as Sitka and even into Ketchikan. So just be prepared for that. Lots of wintry weather on the way for most of the state. But again, we always post that weather discussion. I'll have that done fairly soon, should be right after this. So if you want a little bit more detailed answers, and even just having it in writing is always a little bit easier to comprehend, so that you can kind of just take note of what the forecast is going to be into the work week. But that's what we're expecting. I hope everyone enjoyed the big game, or if you're a Patriots fan, maybe you didn't enjoy it so much. But either way, I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday night. You have a great start to your Monday. So in the meantime, I'll give you a look at what Anchorage is looking like as those clouds sit just a little bit lower and that snow does begin to make landfall. Have a great rest of your night.